Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shamanic and Alchemical Mystery School Global Gathering. We are living in truly momentous times. We find our lives filled with unexpected changes, new awakenings, and initiations on both a personal and a collective level. Especially during times like these, it is of vital importance that all humans have access to receive and remember the ancient teachings about the power and abilities that are our birthright, the sacredness of life itself, and the vital support streaming in from the unseen realms to guide and support us on this journey of awakening. There has never been a more important time to remember who we truly are and to reconnect with all that we are capable of. I am Jocelyn Starfeather. I'm the founder of Sacred Planet, and I'll be your host for this Mystery School gathering. And today I am delighted to be here with Heather Ensworth. Welcome, Heather. Thank you so much for being a part of this event.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. And let me share a little bit more about your work for those who may not know you yet. Heather Ensworth, Ph.D., is an internationally known astrologer and clinical psychologist with over 30 years of experience. In addition, she is a shamanic practitioner and has facilitated sacred circles for more than 20 years. Heather is the author of the book Finding Our Center, Wisdom from the Stars and Planets in Times of Change, and she's the co-author of two books, the first being From Trauma to Freedom, One Woman's Journey and a Holistic Guide for Healing. And then the second one, Higher Vibrational Living Through Astrology, Essential Oils, and Chinese Medicines. These sound like amazing books, Heather. I'm going to have to check these out as well. Heather shares astrological information on her YouTube channel and in her monthly newsletter. She is committed to exploring and teaching ancient wisdom and healing practices for our own evolution and healing and the healing of the earth. And so the topic of your interview today, Heather, is the meaning of the processional cycle and this profound time of transition and transformation on the planet. And just to add to your work, as you and I were chatting about before we began recording, you also lead tours to Egypt, and we're very recently in Egypt in October 2023. So that's so wonderful, and it is so connected with your topic here of the processional cycles. So that's amazing. I would love to know, as we begin here, just a little bit more about your journey and how you came to be doing this work of astrology and tours to Egypt. Whatever might feel important to share about your journey, we would love to know.
Great. Well, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this, Jocelyn. And as we were talking about before we got on to the interview, there's a lot of synergy between your work and my work. And your introduction was beautiful and so on point in terms of this profound time of transition and transformation that we're in. In terms of my own journey, I was, on track for many years of being a clinical psychologist, established a very successful practice. I mean, there's some parallels between your journey and mine. I had a very profound mystical experience when I was 38, in which I heard very clearly within myself, you need to leave your life as you've known it, or you will die. And I knew with every fiber of my being that that was true. I could feel that I was not really fully in alignment with my soul's path and purpose, even though the work that I was doing was very healing and helpful and of service to people. So I literally, within 6 months, left my practice, sold my house, moved across the country, ended up in this quite powerful transition time of being in the not knowing and following the guidance step by step that I was given, that eventually led me into this whole new configuration of my life that I never would have anticipated. It led me into the study of shamanism, astrology, really exploring ancient cultures, ancient wisdom, taking trips to Egypt and Peru and other sacred sites around the globe, working with people in shamanic groups and sacred circles, And so much of what I came to is what you were just talking about in the introduction, that this is a critical time of change on the planet, and it directly relates to the processional cycle. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But that for us to heal and awaken, we need to remember. Remember the ancient wisdom, remember who we really are and what we're capable of, in order to move out of the paradigms that we're in into a radically new way of being. So that's the karmic choice point that we're in individually and collectively right now.
Yes, truly, truly. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing more about your journey. And yeah, it's fascinating, right? How so many of us are being called out of the old way into the new way, and it shows up and we have no idea what to do with that. But then gradually we figure it out. We follow the golden threads, and yeah, I really honor your journey into this powerful work. So could you tell us? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's interesting that we both have such a deep connection with Egypt also. And part of what I came to realize over time is some of the past lives that I do remember were thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt. And I do believe that there are many of us here in this time who were here thousands of years ago in other times of critical transition on the planet. And we've come back in this time to support the shift that we're in now.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Really and truly. Yeah. Well, could you share with us next then about the processional cycles? What are they? And what does this have to do with our changing consciousness at this time?
All right. And if you don't mind, I'm going to screen share here.
Absolutely.
And pull up some slides. Okay. That come up?
Yes, I see it on the screen. Beautiful.
Okay, so I want to talk about the processional cycle, which is this 24,000 year cycle that we understand from our Earth perspective. The fixed stars seem to move counterclockwise 1 degree every 72 years, which means, we've got the circle of constellations of the zodiac on our ecliptic. So it means if you track what stars are rising just before spring equinox every year across about a 2,000-year period, it'll change from the stars of one constellation rising to the next. So we're currently in this transition time from the stars of Pisces rising before spring equinox to now the stars of Aquarius. And this is giving you a view of the sky from our spring equinox in 2023. And you can see as the sun is rising, here are the stars of Aquarius that are now rising before the sun at the time of spring equinox. And this is meaning that we're now under the influence of Aquarius, the water bearer, and we can talk more about the meaning of that in a little bit. But what's extraordinary is ancient cultures were very in tune with these larger cycles and knew, and this is part of what my book, Finding Our Center, Wisdom from the Stars and Planets in Times of Change, is about, the shifting cosmology, philosophy, religious beliefs that are influenced by these energies that are dominant in the particular astrological ages. And so we're now experiencing the archetypal energies of Aquarius guiding us into radically new paradigms. And I do think that it's profound that ancient cultures tracked these larger cycles, knew that they impacted our evolutionary journey of human consciousness on the planet, and we sadly have gotten disconnected from that. But I think it's critical for us to remember that and come back into connection with it to understand the profound transition and transformation that we're in now. There's increasing evidence, and Walter Cruttenden has done an enormous amount of research on this, but there's increasing evidence that the reason that we go through this 24,000-year precessional cycle is that we, like 80% of the stars in our galaxy, are a part of a binary star system. So we are circling another star, and that star is most likely the brightest star in our sky, Sirius. And Sirius is in direct alignment with the stars of the belt of Orion. And Sirius and Orion are incredibly important stars in so many ancient civilizations. We can talk in a bit about how in Egypt they're associated with Isis and Osiris, but they're core themes in ancient cultures. And I believe it was because they understood that Sirius was our binary star and understood the meaning of the precessional cycle. What's interesting is the 24,000-year precessional cycle is also seen in the Hindu yuga cycles that are also 24,000 years. And they really describe how we go through this period of half of that cycle, 12,000 years, is a period of descending consciousness. And then we go through 12,000 years of ascending consciousness. And according to the understanding of the Yuga cycle, we are emerging out of the period of the Kali Yuga, the time of forgetting, and coming back into the ascending cycle, the time of remembering and coming into higher consciousness. So my own speculation is that as we're in this profound orbit with Sirius, that as we move further and further from our binary star, we forget what we once knew and begin to lose that consciousness, that ancient wisdom that we've known across time. And then we come back into connection with Sirius and remember. The way that we know the beginning and ending of a precessional cycle is when the sun at the time of winter solstice is in alignment with the galactic equator, and that puts it in direct alignment with our galactic center. And that happened December 2012, which was why that was such a critical marker. Part of what I think is profound, and this again is why I go back to ancient Egypt so often, is that ancient cultures understood the shifts that happen, particularly at the beginning and end of a precessional cycle and at the midpoint. So every 12,000 years, we experience radical earth changes and transformation in our human consciousness. And I truly believe that the Sphinx and the pyramids of Giza were all built approximately 12,000 years ago, after the last time of radical shift on the planet, which was the time of the Younger Dryas. The planet was most likely hit by comets that triggered a massive melting of the glaciers, leading to this flooding of the earth, earthquakes, climate crisis that wiped out most of humanity. And basically the planet went through a reset, and there were remnants of those very advanced ancient civilizations that then left us monuments in stones, in sacred sites, on the Giza Plateau, Göbekli Tepe, Peru, South Africa, China, India, to remind us about this cycle and to give us a message that we are now at that critical change point in this period of time. You know, the Sphinx was built at the beginning of the age of Leo, facing directly east, honoring the stars of Leo as they rose at the time of sunrise on spring equinox. And now we're 12,000 years later, the beginning of the age of Aquarius. So this is a critical time where we need to remember that context of that cyclical journey that we're in terms of our collective evolutionary process, and consciously work with those energies to move into the higher consciousness that we're capable of. But if we are locked into our current paradigm, which is that modern civilization started about 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, and we've been on this linear development of advancement ever since, that is totally false. We're actually at a low point in terms of our consciousness, in terms of our technology, in terms of our remembrance of our interconnectedness with all that is. So to me, it is so important for us to remember that processional cycle, to be coming back into our own consciousness, our own wholeness, to move through this time of change into what we're capable of becoming individually and collectively.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much for this detailed description and overview of the processional cycles and what that really means. And I'm so struck by the advanced capability that is proven just by the fact that they knew the processional cycles, right? Because if the fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years, that's essentially a human lifetime, right? So they had to be tracking this very accurately, very closely over many, many, many multiple human generations to even be able to see those changes, right? Or they were connected to the larger family and knew.
Yes, see, part of what I believe, and there's a lot of evidence that would back that up, is that prior to the age of Aries, which was approximately 2000 BCE to 0 AD, we were right brain dominant, not left brain dominant as we are now. And I truly believe, I mean, look at the Dogon tribe from Africa, how they could describe in detail that the star Sirius had Sirius A and Sirius B, its satellite orbiting around it. How would they know that without telescopes, without that kind of technology that we would use today? And I believe they had shamanic abilities and a capacity with their consciousness to connect to the wisdom of the cosmos. And that's part of what we're capable of now, if we open to the shifts that we're in and the ways in which we're being activated to reclaim that rebalancing of left brain, right brain ways of knowing.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it seems like new sites, temples, sacred sites, new temples, new architectural discoveries are being made so frequently now that are opening us up to this much more ancient, advanced civilization idea. And the discovery of Göbekli Tepe just kind of blew everything out of the water because it's very reliably dated to be 12,000 years old, and so it actually makes a lot of sense then too to think that the pyramids and Sphinx could have been constructed around that same time frame, right after the Younger Dryas, as you said.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you've heard about the Bosnian pyramid that's now most likely dated back 30,000 years. So it's showing that we've been through these cycles in our evolution as humanity. And there are all of these sites where we're seeing signs of such advanced technology that we have no clue how they did what they did. The accuracy, the sacred geometry, the harmonics of the Great Pyramid, the construction of the stone sites at Cuzco in Peru. Phenomenal complexity and advanced technology. So we really need to honor and respect these ancient cultures that then left us remnants of their wisdom to support us in this transition that we're in.
Yes, to help us remember now. Yes. So could you tell us more then about the processional cycle that we're in now? And how did we get here? What did we move through in those vast ages to get to the point that we're at now?
Well, let me start with the point that we're at now, which is extraordinary in that I truly believe it. As you shift in the ages, there's no clear date at which one ends and one begins, because you're seeing the shifting of the stars as they're rising at the time of spring equinox. But we're definitely moving into the energies of the age of Aquarius now. And for me, I really honor evolutionary astrology and that understanding of Pluto as guiding our soul's journey individually and collectively. So I think it's significant that at the end of 2024, November 2024, Pluto will move fully into Aquarius. I see that as a critical threshold point for us moving into the energies of the Aquarian age. And what's extraordinary is if you look at the Yuga cycle, they mark the ending of the Kali Yuga being at the beginning of 2025. And then if you look at Rory Duff's work, who's tracking how the Earth ley lines and energy lines are shifting as we're now moving through this part of the galaxy, the photon belt, where we're getting impacted by these cosmic energies and increased solar energies. It's changing us. It's shifting us physically, emotionally, shifting our consciousness. And it's activating these Earth ley lines such that he predicts by the end of 2024, they will be in harmonic energetic convergence all year round, not just at the times of the solstices and equinoxes, which is when they've been activated in the past. So starting in 2017, he's seen these increasing shifts. Think about what that would mean to have the Earth's energy lines in this harmonic resonance. The end of the age of Pisces, the beginning of the age of Aquarius, supporting us in coming into this new paradigm that is about coming into higher consciousness again, remembering our interconnectedness with all that is, remembering how to be in community with each other and how to live from love and justice and openness to diversity. So the Earth is supporting us in the shifts that we're in. The sky is guiding us. We just have to come back into right relationship and connection and be in that conscious transformation with the Earth and sky.
Yes, amazing. It's so interesting too, because I think what we're being shown in the world is so clearly the opposite of that Aquarian ideal value system, right? So it's this huge shift that we can feel ourselves getting ready for. And I think we're being shown the polarities, right? We're being shown the opposite of where we want to be to help us get really clear on what we really do want.
And I think when we're going through such an intense time of transformation, it's both, I see so many people healing and awakening in a very accelerated manner. But because these energies that are impacting us are so intense, if you're not working with them in a way that you're healing and awakening, I think people are becoming more reactive and fearful. And so it's creating this increasing divide and polarization. And I think there are some who understand the shifts that we're in and are actively trying to control it or derail it. And I think we're seeing that backlash also playing out on the planet.
Yeah. Yes, so much is happening at this time, for sure. So how can we work with these energies and this understanding of the processional cycles to guide us in our shifting consciousness?
Well, tied in with what you were asking before, I think it is interesting to kind of trace where we've been. I mean, part of what I find fascinating being in Egypt is you're not only seeing these sites dating back 12,000 years, the age of Leo, and the energies that they held, but then so many of the temple sites there are age of Taurus or age of Aries, from about 4000 BCE up to 0 AD. And part of what you see, for example, with the temples built in the age of Taurus, like Dendara Temple, honoring Hathor, this loving, nurturing goddess with the energy of a cow. It's honoring the energy of Taurus, the constellation that is the sacred bull, the sacred cow. And it's an energy that's very much about the sacredness of the earth, honoring the sacred feminine, the energy of the goddess. You see that in cultures around the globe in that time of the age of Taurus. Then you move into the age of Aries, and we shift into an honoring of the sacred masculine. Instead of an honoring of the moon, it shifts to exalting the sun. And it was a time where I think in our journey, we were meant to explore our experience of individuation and self-expression. But I think we got caught in the shadow side of the energy of Aries that became also about division, war, power over, destruction. And the age of Pisces was trying to call us back into that mystical awareness of our oneness, to dissolve that sense of ego and come back into connection with each other and cosmic consciousness. And I think we overrode that, played out the shadow side of Pisces to a great extent. So I do believe that we're here now. And as you know, astrologically, Pluto's squaring the lunar nodes, karmic choice point. Which path are we going to take? And Pluto in Capricorn is actively deconstructing the systems and structures that are out of balance. It's applying to the South Node in Libra. What do we need to do to come back into harmony and balance in order to move into the North Node in Aries? New forms that are now more fully in that integration of the sacred masculine and sacred feminine. So it's extraordinary when you see the synchronicity of the transits happening, guiding us step by step through this transition time, the bigger picture of what's unfolding with the processional cycle, and how that in conjunction with the earth energies is supporting us in waking up. And I think the key for us is to remember what it means to be in right relationship, reconnect with nature, reconnect with the energy of the stars, because they will support us in that shift. We're not alone in the transition, but we need to come back into connection, communion, relationship with the energies of the earth and sky.
Yes, yes. What you just said there, that we're not alone in this, is so important. This is such an important part of the whole big picture of what's happening here, right? Because we have built this world, this modern reality that we have now, that's so based on the idea, the concept that we're separate from nature or separate from the earth and cosmos, And so just that alone is the path back in a way, to know that we're so guided. And I think there's a lot here about stopping our attempts to control and really dropping into a trust and surrender place. Yeah.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. And I think the other aspect of it is moving out of this paradigm that we're in this materialistic reality and coming back into what the ancient wisdom understood, that everything is conscious. I think it's interesting that the symbol for Aquarius is the water bear. And that zigzag symbol of, the Aquarian symbol is one of the most ancient symbols in art, on pottery, on the planet. And it's both the understanding of the living energies of waters, the waters of the earth, but also the energies of life that run through all that is. But I think the theme of water is very important with Aquarius and the water bear. And I don't know if you know Veda Austin's work.
Oh, yes.
But the work she's doing with revealing the consciousness of water, which is in us, we're 70% water. Our planet is 70% water. Every living thing has water. And when you begin to realize water holds the consciousness of the cosmos, it's in us. It's all around us. We are so being supported and guided and held through this process if we remember that we're in this sea of cosmic consciousness and everything around us is conscious. We can be back in connection and relationship again.
Yes, truly. Truly, everything is conscious. I have my after I saw a recent talk by Veda Austin at the CPAC conference, and I have not seen my water in the same way ever since then. It's really quite a powerful paradigm shift.
Yes, her work is paradigm changing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, truly. Well, so then there's our shared connection with Egypt, which is so interesting, as you've said. And I just feel that Egypt is calling people, like never before. I think Egypt has always called to us, but it's really, I think Egypt is saying, okay, everybody, it's time now. Come here, learn about, what you're meant to remember. And I just feel Egypt is helping us to put the pieces together. So I would love to know your reflections on that, or your thoughts about why Egypt, why now, and how is that energy guiding us at this time?
Well, I'd love to hear your experience too, but it is, for me, it's being at those sites, and particularly the most ancient sites. You feel the energies of the sites. And I do believe they were designed to energetically wake us up. They carry a harmonic and energy that is transformational, and particularly being able to travel there and take a group and do private ceremony in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, which is so exquisitely structured and is on such a critical ley line. And is embedded with the sacred geometry that is connecting it to the center of the earth and emanating these energies that are guiding us back into balance and harmony. I think it's just life-changing to be there and to be in those energies that help us below our level of rational mind to come back into that connection and remember how we can come back into that understanding of this larger cycle and the shifts we're in now. And I don't know if you know Robert Edward Grant's work on the sacred geometry of the pyramids and how these ancient pyramids around the world are connected to Orion and resonate with these energies that, again, are trying to give us this message for this time. But I think part of what's profound in ancient Egypt and in these other pyramids' connection with the stars of Orion is that in ancient Egypt, they talk about Isis and Osiris. Isis is the immortal goddess who heals us and helps us when we go through times of death, like Osiris, when he is killed and chopped into pieces, and she finds him restores him, revives him. And I think it's such a powerful story of Sirius guiding us through these cycles of our times of disconnection and destruction back into consciousness, back into connection. And Osiris, Orion, is the one who dies and is reborn. It's really representing our cycle, our incarnational cycle, individually and collectively on the planet. So many of the ancient myths are embedded with the meaning of the processional cycle and these shifts that we go through collectively, if we remember those connections.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I feel that we are all Osiris now. We have been taken apart, we have been dismembered, and we are working on becoming remembered once again. And it is really profound, the cosmic truth in the myths. The myths really they convey the cosmic law. I think they really convey the structure of the universe if you tune into them on the right levels to understand that. It's just so profound.
And did you know that because of the shifting with precession and the tilt in the Earth's axis, that Orion's visibility in the sky changes over time, changes incrementally over time. So 12,000 years ago, it was at its lowest point in the sky when it's visible. And now 12,000 years later, at this time when we're meant to be in this rebirth process, it's at its highest point.
Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. And then Sirius would be moving along with that too.
Yes.
Right. There's a book that I read. Unfortunately, I don't have the name or the author in front of me, but it was stated in that book that the star Sirius was not visible for tens of thousands of years until about 15,000 years ago, and that's when the star first in that period of time became visible. So I was thinking, the heliacal rising of Sirius every year is so important to ancient Egypt, but that heliacal rising of Sirius when it first appeared after tens of thousands of years of not being visible, I could only imagine how profound the meaning was to the people at that time.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard that. If you find that,
I'll find that reference.
I would love to know it. But I think what that could relate to is there is, some evidence that what happens at that 12,000 year period is that's when we experience the pole shift, which not only leads to this cataclysmic change on the planet, but can shift the axis of the Earth. So that could influence what stars are visible or invisible over this longer cycle of history.
Oh, right. Yes, that's very interesting. Yeah. So one more question for you. It's interesting because this theory of that I think Walter Cruttenden, as you mentioned, has made popular, that the precessional cycles are caused by our orbit, our entire, our sun basically orbiting around another star, Sirius, perhaps, versus this idea that the precessional cycles are caused by the Earth being on its axis that has a tilt and a wobble, and we're just kind of seeing a different part of the sky. But instead, this idea that we're actually moving through this vast expanse of the universe as we and our entire galaxy is orbiting around another star. This is really profound, I think. And there's a concept that comes along with that, of that as we move through the different parts of the universe, that impacts our own consciousness. Right?
Yes, well said. And we with Sirius move around in this larger cycle, in our movement through the galaxy around the stars of Pleiades, and the brightest star in the Pleiades in particular. And Pleiades, Orion, Sirius are so important in ancient cultures because I think they understood this. But the other thing that's extraordinary, when you think of this shift in the processional cycle coming from our orbiting with our binary star Sirius. Think about how part of our current paradigm in these past 5,000 years of increasing separation and disconnection is this sense of our sun as the solar hero. And we all orbit around the solar hero, representing the sacred masculine. And here in reality, our sun is orbiting around Sirius, representing this great goddess, bringing us back into that paradigm of the dance of relationship and the dance of the sacred masculine and sacred feminine. So it shifts our whole paradigm, just realizing that we, like most of the stars in the galaxy, are a part of a binary star system.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. You know, where my awareness is going with that is that, you know, in the Egyptian mythology, Horus is the sun, right? And he is the son of Isis. She's his mother. So it would make complete sense that then he would be, you know, orbiting around her, and then we would be orbiting around him. So fascinating.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really all written there in the myths. We're working on decoding it.
And letting ourselves move back into that consciousness where we can be in communion and communication with the stars again. Then they'll remind us, they'll tell us.
And all the intelligence that is there. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Heather. This has been just a mind expanding, heart expanding conversation. So thank you for all of this and the research that you've done and the ways that you've also intuitively, you know, pulled all this together. It's really beautiful. And yeah, I would love to know, where can people find you online? And do you have any announcements or upcoming things that you'd like people to know about as they're listening?
Well, thank you. And thank you for doing this summit. Thank you for the work that you're doing to support the shifts that are happening. It's profound what you're doing. And as for connecting with me, my website is risingmoonhealingcenter.com. And I do put out regular information about the lunar cycles and about what's going on astrologically on my YouTube channel. And there's a possibility that I may actually be facilitating another trip to Egypt this spring, March, end of March, beginning of April. So people can check in with my newsletter and I'll post that there.
Okay, wonderful. And I really strongly recommend that everybody tune into your YouTube channel. I feel your insights there are so important and are really helping to guide us all. So I highly recommend that. And I know you have a wonderful free gift for us too, which is to receive free unlimited access to the Healing Ourselves, Healing Our World Summit, and also free monthly newsletters from Heather, which provide information about the energies of the lunar cycle, as well as, I'm sure, other lovely updates about your tours and that kind of thing. So do you want to say anything more about your free gift?
Just, I would say that one of the things that I feel is important is that to move into this higher consciousness that we're called into in this time, we can't do a spiritual bypass. To move into that higher consciousness, we have to heal. And I believe the experiences in ancient Egypt are so supportive of that also, how we face the traumas from our past that keep us in separation and keep us blocked from our wholeness and our capacity to step into our true selves. So the Healing Summit is really about different ways we can support ourselves in our own healing journeys in order to move into higher consciousness in these new paradigms of the Aquarian age.
Oh, wonderful. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, thank you for creating that summit. That's wonderful. Yeah, so everybody, if you scroll down just a little bit below this video, you will see the link to claim Heather's free gift. So I highly recommend that to everybody. And you'll also be able to see her bio and links to her website and her YouTube channel. So all of those resources are very easy to access right here on this page. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to say to us in closing? Heather, any last words of wisdom for our time here?
The one last thing I would say, and I really feel this more and more fully, our connection, the community that's connecting around my YouTube channel and so many other sites like yours, I feel like a soul tribe is forming. And that those of us who are healing and awakening and moving into higher consciousness are connecting around the globe. And I do believe that wisdom of the shamans and the spiritual teachers, that if only a small percentage of us wake up and remember and move into that higher consciousness, we can help shift the collective consciousness.
Yes, couldn't agree more. And it's happening. It's
happening.
happening. If you think about just the fact that more and more people every single day are meditating, just hundreds of thousands or millions of people around the world every day are meditating, and more each day. It's so powerful to consider that, and the shift that already is surely creating, and that it's only going to grow. It's really powerful.
Creates that morphogenic field that impacts the whole collective consciousness.
Yes. Yeah, wonderful. And yes to the soul tribe. We are here.
We're connecting.
Coming together. Yes. Well, thank you again, Heather, for all of this. It's been so beautiful to spend time with you, and thank you again for all the work that you're doing.
And thank you for the work that you're doing.
Yes, wonderful. And everybody listening, I hope you have really enjoyed this interview with Heather. I hope you've received so much from it. And stay tuned in. We have more interviews coming your way. And thank you so much for being a part of this Mystery School Global Gathering. Much love to you all.